Thank you, everyone. I just want to welcome you to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thank you for downloading this episode. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And if you like the show, tell a friend.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
That's why these two guys here, these are the men I want as my friends. They're the new blood.
All right, everybody. The Detroit Sports Podcast is on the air. Doc and Jock are ready to deliver another great podcast. It's a great time of the year. Joining me is my cousin, the Jock, Adam Strozinski.
You can call me Freddie Tugboat. Freddie Tugboat.
I am the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Got my seizure helmet on. I'm ready for some football. Let's do this.
Training camp has opened. NFL football is almost here, baby. We're at training camp. Definitely going to talk about the Lions. Opening week of training camp. Already some issues. Adam and I are so excited to talk football. We can't wait. And we're also going to hit on, this is a football-heavy podcast. We're also going to hit on college football. U of M, MSU, right around the corner. Less than 4 weeks away before college football takes off. And two great seasons coming up for the University of Michigan and Michigan State. Both at different points where they're at, but pivotal seasons for both clubs. And Doc and Jock are going to give our opinions about U of M and MSU.
For
and
totally different reasons. They're pivotal seasons.
Totally different
reasons.
Doc and Jock have two, not one, but two great interviews lined up for you guys. We're going to talk Lions with the voice of Ford Field. You know, when the Lions score a touchdown, you hear his voice. Theo Gridiron Spight is going to join us to talk training camp and some issues with the Detroit Lions. And we're also going to talk with the Motor City Swami from the Detroit Sports Nation. He's going to give us his insights regarding U of M and MSU. This podcast is fully jammed, and we got a lot to deliver. Cuz, you ready? You ready to handle this?
Yeah, but first, I want to know, what was your reaction to the Bachelorette last night? Is that what you were talking about earlier today?
Listen,
what happened there?
Listen, in our pre-production meetings, we can't be all hardcore sports. My wife makes me watch...
Yes, blame it on her. Her. I had a long conversation with her, by the way.
Yeah.
She was like, he was totally into it.
Listen, man, it was interesting because you don't see too many times on television when a guy's like, yo, I tagged that. And he was like, he was on national television.
That guy was crying, you said. He had a little tear in his eye. He's like, well, you made love to me.
Yeah, it was.
Go ahead. No, run it down. Run it back down. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it was.
Tell me about it.
For those that don't watch The Bachelorette, and most of our audience probably doesn't.
Nobody watches this. Your man card should be stripped.
Listen, man, you got to do something. You have to spend some quality time. The longer you're married, the sooner you're going to realize that you have to spend some quality time with the missus. That allows me to be as hardcore about sports as I am. So we're watching The Bachelorette, the end of the rose ceremony, or whatever it's called, after the season's over.
You know the name of it even.
Yes,
it's
they do.
The best.
And they bring out the loser to confront the girl who dissed him. And he basically said, if you didn't love me, why did we have sex on national television? Except he didn't do it like a man. He was just like shaking. He's like, if you didn't love me, why did we have sex? Or why did we make love? It was like, come on, dude. Seriously? Where are your boys on this? He should have been like, yo, you didn't pick me. I tagged it and it was good.
Oh, I can't believe we had a conversation about this. Go ahead. Let's go into football. Come on.
Okay.
Redeem your man card. Let's go.
Listen, you have to be more well-rounded, Jock. Come on, man. You can't
yes. I'm going to watch The Bachelorette.
Oh, sorry. Am I disrupting you and your dick pics coming from your boys?
Well played. Look, what happens inside the hockey text message group stays in the hockey text message group.
Okay, memo.
Unless we're talking about it on the Detroit Sports Podcast.
Memo.
Then it's nothing but penises and Freddie Tugboat.
Memo to the hockey text group. Wednesday night, the Jock is not available to take your dick pics, okay? Send them to the female, send them to someone else, okay? His phone is almost empty because he's got so many dick pics, all right?
I'm just saying, Dave has an outstanding one with a giant angry vein that just kind of loops over the top.
Okay, let's right the ship. Let's
Quickly. This is going nowhere fast.
All right, cuz. Training camp opened Monday, and everyone around town, everyone around Metro Detroit is fully excited. I'm excited. Definitely the Tigers, right now they're 103 games in. They're kind of up and down. There's some issues there, but right now we're in that phase where we have hope. The Lions are in training camp. We have a lot of issues to talk about. It's that time of year when football is around the corner, and that's just all excitement right now. Now, the Lions haven't played a game yet, and that's when they'll pop your balloon. But right now, it's still training camp, and I think tonight, Wednesday, the Lions are having practice at Wayne State, so it's going to be a fun evening, and hopefully they can put on a redeeming performance for the fans. I think 6,000 people are going to go down to Wayne State to check out the Lions practicing in pads.
I think there'll be more people there for the Lions practice than they get at the Warriors football games.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
I attended Wayne State for a while.
Cuz, how excited are you? Football's right around the corner.
Oh, I can't wait. I was sitting there the other day, actually just sitting there on the couch, and I was watching, I was probably watching something stupid on ESPN, and I was like, it's almost football season. Actually, I woke up, I rolled out of bed, and walked outside, and I was like, what the hell? I was like, it's so cold. I was like, this is football weather. Right then is when it started, and I can't wait for football. I'm so excited. Hopefully the Lions give us a good product this year. I need the Lions and the Wolverines to both give me a good product. Those are like two bets I'm going to lose on for sure.
Couple issues we got to talk about. Kind of the couple issues that are permeating camp. Already some writers, Twitter is abuzz. Ebron is dropping balls pretty frequently in training camp. Are you concerned, or it's been carrying over now from the OTAs to now early on in training camp? And I just looked it up. Last year, he dropped the ball at 11.4% clip. He had an 11.4% drop rate as a junior at North Carolina. He's dropping balls in practice. People are kind of chirping a little bit. You a little bit worried?
Hell yeah, I'm concerned. We already have a tight end like that. His name's Brandon Pettigrew. What do we need another one for? We wasted our first-round draft pick on this guy? Get out of here. Get out of here. We don't need this mess. They should have drafted a freaking corner. I don't care if he drops footballs, as long as he knocks them down and nobody gets behind him. That's what we should have did. Instead, we draft a tight end who can't hold on to the damn ball. Hell yeah, I'm concerned. Are you not?
I'm very concerned. But some people may say, hey, it's early, man. It's the first week. He might have he's a rookie. And he's probably studying the books. He's a little bit nervous to impress the coaches. He might be, not fully acclimated to the system. It doesn't just come right away.
I'm going to tell you something okay, so today, while I was doing some show prep, I had ESPN on, and I think it was like NFL Insiders or something on. They were at Lions training camp today. And they cut to this shot of Ebron talking with Pettigrew. And I was like, the one guy that you don't want him to talk to, he's talking to. The one guy who's got to take him underneath his wing and nurture him, you don't want that to happen. Why couldn't he be hanging out with Calvin, maybe Golden Tate? That guy doesn't drop a ball. Why can't he be hanging out with these guys? Instead, he's hanging out with Stonehands, and you're just like, what are you doing? Why? Why is this happening? Is this Bizarro land? Like, don't hang out with that guy. Go talk to somebody who actually knows how to catch a football. Unless that guy's got, glue or stick him on his fingers, don't talk to him.
Cause, listen, it's early. Yes, I understand. It's definitely a source of concern. People are talking about it. But, like I said, let's give him time. Let's see how it evolves throughout the preseason. Now, like I said, we're going to try to be fair and balanced. We're not going to be all negative. A couple names have surfaced as being, wow, some kind of head turners. Ziggy Ansah, obviously right now, is not practicing. So his replacement right now on the end, I believe, is George Johnson. He's kind of wowing people. People on Twitter are saying, listen, this guy's kind of maybe turned around his career, got cut, and we picked him up, I think, early in the offseason. Looking good. That is something to look out for in terms of if Ziggy Ansah is not ready to go by the season. George Johnson's ready to step in on a defensive line that's expected to do a whole hell of a lot. So that's one area. Another area, SI.com's Doug Farrar has looked at the Lions' offensive line. He looked at the numbers last season and has said, you know what? Stafford was only sacked 23 times last season out of 634 attempts. And he's looking at it, he's looking at, wow, the talent on the offensive line has the potential to do some damage this year in a pass-heavy offense. And so he's ranked them, hold your breath, third in, not in the division, in the entire National Football League. SI thinks that the Lions' offensive line is ranked third.
You know what? It's not that big of a shocker to me. And I'm going to explain to you why. Last year, they did a very solid job of protecting Matt Stafford and keeping him upright. When he got in trouble, he did an okay job of either throwing the ball away or throwing it to the other team to avoid the sack. So that's kind of why those numbers are down a little bit. Plus, they did a really good job developing that line. They've added a few pieces to it, which make it make it stand out a little bit. You got a guy like Riley Reef, who his first year was basically used as an H-back. He was stuck in the backfield. They did a good job incorporating him into the offense. He looked good at times last year. They also did a great job selecting Larry Warford. That guy, they basically dug into the bottom of the draft and pulled him out. And that guy really looks good. He looks like he's going to be a piece for quite some time that they can build around and that they can add to. Then you got Dominic Raiola, who has basically taken up the torch for Jeff Backus. Everybody hates somebody on that offensive line. It is now Dominic Raiola. He's solid as a center. He's not great, but he's solid. And then you got Rob Sims, who is also solid on that line. So they've got some solid pieces on that line, and I think you have you actually have two cornerstones to build for in the future when these veteran players kind of work their way out of the league. And you got that with Larry Warford, and you've got that with Riley Reef. So it makes sense.
And a good thing is this. We've brought in coaches from winning organizations. On the offensive side from New Orleans, Coach Lombardi, and then the defensive side, you brought in a coach from Baltimore. So it's a good thing that the Lions are recognizing that, you know what, we need to bring in quality coaches all around, starting at the top. Jim Caldwell is widely respected among everybody. Everybody in town is basically in love with Coach Caldwell. And that's because, right off the bat, he got the support of Peyton Manning. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL picked up the phone and called the Lions to say, hey, this is a guy you need to have. And so right then and there, you got credibility. And he just commands the respect. Now, how much he can implement his system right away, we don't know. It's incumbent upon us to wait and see what the Lions look like when they start. From all accounts, practices look like they're running the way they should be. They look like they're different than in the past, but we say that with the majority of new coaches. So it's always a wait-and-see approach, and it's always incumbent upon the fans to kind of say, okay, you know what? Let's keep it in perspective. Let's understand that the talent on the field has to produce. And if Coach Caldwell can get them to be more disciplined and can get them to play better in the fourth quarter, then it's all good. That's what we're looking for, because this team has talent. This team has the pieces in place. We've loaded up. Yes. Does this team have holes? Yes, it does. And right away, you look to the defense, but they're counting on guys that have been here. They're counting on them to perform. And so I think the pressure and the onus is going to be on the defensive line to carry the day. And so they little bit underperformed last season when they went 1-6 at the end of the season. But you got Suh, you got Fairley, who by all accounts has come into camp looking good, has dropped the weight, and Fairley kind of was challenged by upper management when he was told basically, we're not going to re-sign you when he's got 2 years left on his deal. Very odd situation. The defensive line has a potential to be a real strength, and it's incumbent upon Ndamukong Suh. I know, the name that kind of very polarizing. We'll talk about that. But Ndamukong Suh is poised to have another monster season. He's in a contract year, and he's got to show. He's got to be the anchor on that defensive line. He's got to draw those double teams. He's got to let Fairley do his thing. So because obviously Ndamukong Suh, the contract situation continues to be an underlying theme, like a thorn in your side in terms of the Lions. So now the Lions come out and say, listen, we decided as an organization we're going to table the talks. Okay, why? Just because Suh told you no 8 times, obviously you're not going to talk, and he's going to wait, he's going to play the string out. And so just your opinion, obviously, yes, we've talked in the past, and you have expressed a lot of anger with Suh that his situation is holding up the Lions, is holding up the team, and things like that. And it's just a story that's kind of can become a distraction. Whenever we talk about the Lions, some issue related to Suh kind of comes up. So right now where it's at, they're not talking. Suh's got to perform to get that big contract, because there's no guarantee that if he tests free agency, if he doesn't have a great season, that he doesn't get the full amount of money. Just look at Greg Monroe. Greg Monroe, still waiting, not getting a max deal. Suh has to perform this year. And by all accounts, based on his numbers, he will. He wants to be paid big money. and I think he will. I think he's going to perform on the field. What's your take right now on where the Suh situation is?
I think this was smart on the Lions front office's part. Here's the thing. If they sign him, what happens is they get a little bit of cap relief right now in the coming years, which is great. But free agency is already kind of gone. He kind of screwed the team over with trying to address and add pieces this season. But he goes, tests free agency next year. He signs with another team. All that money comes off the books, and they don't have to worry about that. It just freed up $22 million in cap space, $23 million in cap space. That's win-win for the Lions, all right? You lose a great player. That sucks. But now you have all this money that you can take and you can reinvest into your team and fill other holes. You can now go draft somebody else for the defensive line, or you can go pick up a guy off free agency. It works out perfect, all right? The one issue that the Lions might have, and this is if they get stupid, is if they sit there and they franchise him. If they franchise him, his cap hit then goes up to almost $27 million. So as long as they don't franchise him, you can either re-sign him and restructure a deal that helps both people out, both parties, or you let him walk out the door and all that money comes off the books and you have a ton of cash to play with to add pieces to your team. So I think this is win-win for the Lions. I think this was smart on their part. I don't think they need to come out and they need to tell everybody about it, but I think it was smart for them to do this. On top of it is now a non-issue going into the season. And you know what? If he gets hurt, something crazy happens to him, you now have leverage as the Lions to come to the table and say, hey, we're only going to give you this much. You're coming off a hamstring injury, you're coming off a knee injury, you're coming off a shoulder injury, an arm injury, you're coming off some type of injury, and you didn't perform last season. So this is what we're going to give you. Take it or leave it. And chances are the Lions will overpay to keep him because he is a really good player. He's very dominant when he wants to be. He just needs to control a lot of his issues on the field, and that guy becomes that much better of a player. So I think this is win-win for the Lions. I think it's great. I don't think they made a misstep here. Maybe going to the media with it and saying, hey, we're pulling our offer off the table. Maybe it looks a little bit bad business-wise, but now you've set it up. It's a non-issue going further into minicamp. I think this is great for the Lions.
Just on a side note, last year there was issues with David Akers. Missed some key field goals late in the season. And now talk out of camp is kind of like a war of attrition with these two kickers. In camp, there's Nate Freese and Giorgio Tavecchio. And just, on a side note, on Tuesday, they had, I think they had a drill where if they could make a 49-yard field goal, they get off the field. They both missed. So right now, the kicker situation is kind of up in the air in that these guys have been underwhelming. But
can we get Kickalicious back? He's still out there, right?
And,
did you ever see that guy's YouTube video?
Yeah, that's been a mainstay. Kicking has been a mainstay in Detroit, and right now it's kind of a position that someone needs to distinguish themselves and set themselves up. So
can we go pull Jason Hansen out of the closet, dust him off, blow the mothballs off him, and put him back out there? Has he got a bionic leg or something?
Can you imagine if we're in a lot of close games and then finally we're in the lead and all we need is the kicker to do their job, and that's the issue?
It either goes wide right or wide left or clank off a post. Ooh.
Well, listen, let's try and steer the ship. Let's try and stay positive. Matthew Stafford, by all accounts, is looking good in camp. By all accounts, he has worked on the issues that people have talked about, footwork and mechanics. And at the same time, he's working with Jim Caldwell, who's worked with some of the great quarterbacks in the league. This year, Matthew Stafford's got to show it. He's got to be the man to step it up. Otherwise, if he continues on the path that he had last year, turning the ball over late in the fourth quarter, not getting the ball to the guys where they need it in the right spots, this could be a big talking point. Could be a big disaster. So this is the one player this year. He's got the target on his back. I'm interested in hearing what you think. He's got the most pressure on him this year. Single-handedly, number 9 has the most pressure.
I love to disagree with you. And nothing brings me more joy than arguing with you and then beating you at your own game. But I think you're 100% right here. He has the most pressure. This team will only go as far as Matt Stafford's arm and decision-making will take them. He has to come out and he has to live up to his contract. He has to live up to his draft status. And he has to live up to being that franchise QB that the Detroit Lions organization believes he is. He has to come out and he has to perform. He can't have meltdowns in the fourth quarter anymore. The coaching staff, by all accounts, has come in and, like you said, basically retooled him a little bit. He looks good in minicamp. It looks good in OTAs. He looks good right now. Granted, you're not going up against anybody who wants to rip your head off. So everybody looks better when they don't have somebody breathing down their neck. He has to show up every Sunday and Monday night. I don't think they have any Thursday games, but he has to show up every game day, and he has to look like he is God's gift to the QB position. He doesn't have to be elite. We don't need him to necessarily be elite. He doesn't have to be in the class with Manning, Brady, Rodgers, Breeze. He doesn't have to be there. But you know what? He's got to be that next tier. He's got to be that cusp of being that elite quarterback. He's got to be on the verge of taking the torch from one of those guys. He has to be there in order to facilitate everything with this team. This team can only go as far as he will move this offense, because that defense, like you said, is porous. They have tons of holes. If that defensive line breaks down at all, that back seven is just basically hung out to dry. So this offense is going to be steadfastly important for this team going forward, and Matthew Stafford has to have a career year.
Cuz we're going to keep this Lions talk going. After the break, we're going to get a chance to get another perspective on these Lions from the voice of the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. Theo Gridiron Spight is going to join us after the break. Stay tuned.
I'm Megan McCormick out here in Fox Sports LA, and when I'm not sitting out in the sun, I'm listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast.
All right, everyone. Joining us on the podcast, we're honored to have him. He is the voice that's rocking Ford Field when the Lions score. He's the hype man. He is the host of Gridiron and the Chef on WDFN Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Theo Gridiron Spight. Good evening, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Man, it's all good. Training camp has started. Football season is here, and we're looking forward to chatting about our Detroit Lions. I'm super excited. Adam and I, we kind of sometimes we get a little too passionate, a little too excitable about our Lions, but it's a new season, clean slate, and we're ready to start tackling some key issues.
Definitely. I'm the same way, man. This is around here, this is like Christmas in July for me.
Last season left a nasty taste in a lot of fans' mouth. I mean, everything was situated perfectly for the Lions to take down the division and get into the playoffs, and it didn't happen. But we're at training camp now. A new coach is here. We got a bunch of new players ready to earn their stripes. What do you think so far about in the early parts of training camp?
For me, I look at things a little bit different. Like I really don't know what you can tell in preseason and in training camp, because there's still guys are still learning a new system, and obviously there's no like game planning going on or whatever. I think we've all been fooled in the past by training camp wonders. Like you take a Patrick Edwards last year, everybody was excited about him coming out of training camp, and then he ended up not even contributing at all. So I tend to take a wait and see attitude and just try to wait until it's for real. This year being the Monday Night Football game, that's when you truly know what your team has. When they go 4 quarters against another team for 4 quarters, and you really that's when you can start to see exactly who the contenders and the pretenders are.
Now, Theo, a lot of the early talk, you said it yourself. It's true. It's early and things like that, but right away, people are noticing Ebron's dropping the ball quite a bit. 7-on-7 drills, people are noticing, hey, issues with the hands, and Adam and I talked about it on previous podcasts. He had an 11.4% drop rate last year, his junior year at North Carolina. Please tell me this guy's not going to be a bust. What's your reaction to the early problems with Ebron?
Well, have you ever heard of a tight end by the name of Jimmy Graham out of New Orleans? Yeah,
can we get him?
Jimmy Graham actually led all tight ends in drop passes in what many people consider his breakout year in 2012, just a couple of seasons ago. He led all tight ends in drop passes and still put together an amazing season. So I bring that up because the Lions was last and next to last in the entire league in drop passes. So you don't want that at all, and that can be a problem. But at the same time, if Ebron is supposed to be the player. He's supposed to be our version of Jimmy Graham and Joe Lombardi's new Saints style offense. Then what that means to me is he will still get an opportunity to make a ton of plays. And if he's the player that we hope he is, then there might be some hiccups along the way in some drop passes, but he'll be able to put up numbers that will make us not even pay attention to that stuff.
All right, Theo, what has been your early takes on Jim Caldwell and his coaching regime thus far?
I'm a huge fan already of Coach Caldwell, and it has a lot to do with what he brings to the table. Completely different coaching style, not just about the X's and the O's, but about just a completely different way of doing things. He's like, he's from the whole Tony Dungy tree, and guys like Dungy and Herm Edwards and even Mike Tomlin and just Lovie Smith. Those guys are coaches who made their players play like men, conduct themselves like men, and gave them respect and demanded the respect in turn. And the teams from what I heard about, whether it was Jeff Saturday talking about Coach Caldwell coming here to Peyton Manning himself talking about him, it's just that they all, those words, both of those guys use those same words, respect, and that he demanded and he gave, and treating players like men. And I think that goes a long way. And you start to hear it now with the Lions right now and how they talk about things. The guy just seems to be one of those quiet but tough type of coaches. And what I like about it is that you really can't think of the Lions. The Lions have never had the coaching pedigree that Coach Caldwell brings to the table. They've never had a coach. This guy's been part of 3 Super Bowl teams. 3 Super Bowl teams. There was one as a assistant coach under Tony Dungy, then a head coach when they lost to the Saints, and then again with the Baltimore Ravens. So that brings a lot of respect. That makes players say, okay, this guy's been to the mountaintop and he knows what he's talking about. And I think that when you can flash some reins at some guys and say, I'm not talking about something that I heard. I'm telling you about something that I know, that I've seen be successful. That carries a lot of weight, man. So, after all that long-winded rant that I just gave you right there, I'm excited about him and what he brings to the table.
Do you think this coaching staff will hold Matt Stafford accountable? There was a report that came out earlier this week stating that basically Jim Schwartz would sit there and call every player out in that locker room, but always leave Matt Stafford, just kind of let him go his own little way. And that might have led to some of that trouble that Stafford had maybe with his mechanics, some of his decision-making, especially late in games. Do you think Caldwell and this coaching staff will hold him accountable?
Definitely. When you have something in the training camps like the QB camp, which is meant to watch him and to point out his flaws, to point out mistakes that he's made, to point out and also, to focus on some of the good, that tells you right there that this coaching staff is focused on doing whatever it takes to get Matthew Stafford right, whether it's correcting the wrong and improving on the good. So when you have, and it's something simple, but it's also, we all know that this team goes wherever Matthew Stafford takes them, and one of the main problems with Stafford was with his fundamentals. So you bring in a coach who's coached Peyton Manning. You bring in a coach who's coached Drew Brees. And these guys are not enamored by Matthew Stafford because they coach 2 of the best, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So I think they will definitely, they have the pedigree to be able to hold Stafford accountable. I mean, again, stuff like that, with rings on your fingers carries so much weight that you can say stuff to every player on there, from your quarterback to the water boy, and they will listen and respect what you say.
Do you think that Matt Stafford will be able to elevate his game to the next level this upcoming season? Do you think that coaching staff is going to play a huge part in that?
Oh, yeah, I definitely believe that. You know, what I believe is I believe quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, and there's another guy across the water named Jay Cutler, those type of guys who have that arm. They have that cannon arm, and they believe that they can make any throw. And that ends up being one of their biggest weaknesses. That cannon arm, which is a huge weapon, is also a big weakness because a lot of times quarterbacks like that, they don't pay attention to the fundamentals. Where a guy like Peyton Manning, who's never had a cannon arm, but he is obsessed with technique and the fundamentals, and that gets him over. When you get a quarterback like Stafford to finally pay attention to the details, when you finally focus on that stuff right there, his footwork, the fundamentals, how he's reading defenses, when you finally get a quarterback of his ability to pay attention to those things right there, then you get something that could be scary. You look at what the Bears did with Mark Trestman, bringing Trestman in. Trestman was considered a quarterback whisperer, and he had Jay Cutler playing at a high level up until Cutler was hurt. I think the same thing will happen with Stafford with the even higher ceiling. You know, I really believe that the focus we're bringing in Caldwell and Joe Lombardi, and also Jim Bob Cooter. I love that name. You can never say that name enough times. Jim Bob Cooter, great name. But he also a Peyton Manning guy, working with Peyton. These guys are coming in here and letting you know that they are about fixing this quarterback right here. That's what it's all about. And I think he has the ability. From all reports, he has embraced and bought in to everything that everybody's been saying to him. And that, to me, is exciting and scary for the rest of the league. Because if Matthew Stafford can cut down from 19 interceptions, if we get that down to around 10, 11, and then up those 29 touchdowns and give us 10 or 11 more of those, that's playoffs, baby, all day, every day.
All right, I want to get into some real talk with you here. What are your thoughts on Ndamukong Suh and him wanting to be a Detroit Lion and all the issues that are surrounding his contract? I don't want you to pull any punches. I don't want you to give me the PR answers here. I want your real. How do you feel? What do you feel about Ndamukong Suh?
All right, I'm gonna give it to you like this right here. This might not be a popular opinion, but I'm a UAW guy. My day job, I'm a UAW guy, union guy, all that good stuff. So, and if you've heard any of some of my other shows or whatever, you know that I had an issue when Shabazz Napier in UConn and some of the stuff he was saying about players not being able to eat in the NCAA and the issue with players getting money or whatever. I have a problem when you have a league like the NFL who makes billions on top of billions on the backs of all these players. And the fans don't say anything about that. You go to a football game, beer costs you about what? I don't know. Beer at a football game about what? $25 nowadays?
What the hell is that about?
So you're paying crazy amounts of money. Your tickets are going up. Your concessions are going up. Parking's going up. Nobody complains about any of that stuff. Or if they do complain, they still come to the game, still have sellouts. When it comes to a player saying that he feels like he wants to get what in his mind he believes he should get, then everybody has a problem with that. And I don't understand it. Because if the NFL contract with Fox Sports expired, will the NFL say, well, you know what, Fox Sports, since I like you so much, I just want to be here with you so good. We have such a good relationship. I'll just give you a discount. Will the NFL tell Fox Sports that? No. Will the NFL tell ESPN when the Monday Night Football contract expires? Will they say, well, we just love Coach Gruden and Tirico so much that we just want to give you guys a discount? Will the NFL tell ESPN that? No. So everybody else likes to maximize their money. ESPN, in turn, will charge those people who want to get those ads. They would charge them bukus of money to pay for all the stuff, raise the rates on whatever. I'm sure whoever had a commercial last year is probably paying more for that same commercial this year. So you have tons of different people making all of this money, but then when it's time for the player to get some paper, then everybody has a problem with it. I don't. I don't have a problem with it. It's not about football is a business. It's only personal to us. You know what I'm saying? We the fans, we take things a little bit more personal, and I understand it because I do the same thing. But for the players, the man is 25 years old, top 5 at his position, and about to be an unrestricted free agent because I don't believe that the team will franchise him. He owes it to himself to go out there and maximize his earnings. You know what I'm saying? Now, the season might end, and he might not have the market that he thought he would have. You know, you saw Cliff Averill decided to go the free agent route, and his market was not as big as he thought it would be. And he ended up taking, he ended up taking less money from the Seattle Seahawks than what he turned down with the Lions. It didn't work out for him. Now, granted, you know, he ended up winning the Super Bowl with them, but financially, it didn't go as he planned. The same thing could happen with Suh. He could get on the open market and find that what he thought he can make, he can't make. But we have to separate. You got to separate. This is no corporate jargon because I'm a homer. I'm a rah system for my squad. But when you look at it like that, it's not personal. This has nothing to do with whether he wants to be in Detroit or whether he likes the Lions. This is about that paper. It's all about the Benjamins. It's no different than what Max Scherzer is doing. You know what I'm saying? And I don't remember such an uproar when Max Scherzer said Max Scherzer turned down a lot of money from the Detroit Tigers so that he could get on that open market. Doing the exact same thing. There's no difference at all. Except everybody always wants to believe that Suh doesn't want to be here because of something that his sister said. But you can't show me where he said he didn't want to be here in Detroit. I don't care what his sister said. This man has said, at least publicly, he said he wants to be here. Max Scherzer has done the exact same thing. Publicly, Max Scherzer said, I want to be here, but I want to get that paper. So if you don't have a problem with Max Scherzer, then you shouldn't have a problem with Ndamukong Suh. Go ahead and get that paper. Let these guys get this money. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't affect us as the fans. As long as he shows up on Sunday and does his job, that's all that matters to me. I don't care about a guy wanting to get his money because of your job. Wherever whatever place you work at that's paying your bills, if they tell you that we want to pay you this, but the company across the street said, well, I'll pay you more, and then your company says, well, hold on, let's see what they're talking about, because maybe we might want to do something else with you also.
Now, Theo, I want to look at it maybe from a little bit a different angle. Now, his cap number is so high. Because of the fact he didn't resign, his cap number continues to haunt us, and we can't add more talent. So we continue to hear of guys who have success in the league, like Tom Brady, taking way under value to have more pieces in place. So now, if a guy like Suh, he doesn't have to sign here for 10 years. If he signs maybe a shorter-term deal and resigns for maybe 2 or 3 years, then that allows the team to possibly add more talent and then have more success on the field. And then once the team has success, if he comes off a season when he takes us either to the NFC title game or to the Super Bowl, then he has a way to leverage himself even more just in case he wants to maximize his money. So the issue is this. I think there has to be a balance between, yes, getting the most paper you can get, but at the same time allowing your team, the team that you're representing, that's representing the city of Detroit, to have a competitive team. And so, yeah, he's been to the playoffs once, and this team is full of superstars, but at the same time, if he takes up all the money, who else is going to come here?
But you make some great points, my man, but you cannot show me. You cannot show me where teams who brought in all of these free agents or whatever, how that significantly helped them. As far, a player here, a player there, yeah. But if you go down the roster of some of your more successful franchises, the majority of those players on that team were drafted by them. I like to think that you have to have faith in the draft. I'm excited about a Kyle Van Noy. I'm excited about a Theo Riddick. I'm excited about Darius Slay, seeing what he brings to the table. I think that going the free agent route, if everybody is mad because they didn't, they couldn't do this or they couldn't do that, I think that might not necessarily be the right way to win in the NFL. That might work if you're the Miami Heat. and you bringing in your big three or whatever. Yeah, that won you a couple of championships going that route. But on the flip side, I know it's a totally different sport, but on the flip side, the San Antonio Spurs, all of their guys were drafted by them, with the exception of maybe a Boris Diaw. All of their guys were drafted. So going the high, big name, fist boom by free agency route is not a guaranteed way of going to the Super Bowl. Because if you go down the list of last year's Super Bowl champions, you go down that list, the majority, probably 90% of their impact players were drafted, with the exception of a Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn was I believe he was either a trade or a free agent. Percy Harvin, either a trade or a free agent. But those are spots. You know what I'm saying? Flip over Cliff Averill, and I think it was Martell Bennett or whatever. Those were free agent pickups. But again, those are 4 players out of 22. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a math major, but I don't think that's a high percentage when it comes to your impact players in the bulk of your team. Championship teams are built through the draft. That's what it's about. So you have to have faith that Eric Ebron and, like I said, a Darius Slay, a Nevin Lawson. You have to have faith in guys like that they are the ones. Those are the guys that will determine how far the Lions go, not the ability to be able to go out and sign 10,000 free agents.
Joining us is Theo Gridiron Spight. We're having a great talk with Theo about the Lions. Theo, let me get you out of here on this. We know that you're also a singer with the Dan Rafferty Band. Are you ready? Are the pipes ready for a potentially increased workload this season with the offense? I mean, it could be one of those things where you could be singing 6, 7, 8, 9 times a game.
Oh man, I'm excited about that. I mean, I definitely had to keep a jug of some tea next to me or something instead of the Gatorade, but I'm ready for that. That's what I go down there for. I'm hoping that I get to sing that many times.
That's awesome. And also too, let me let you out of here on this. Let me put your judge's cap on, just in case, man, you want to take a vacation. What do you think about pipes like this? Forward down the field, our charging team that will not yield. Man, I got to work on that. See, I still don't got the pipes, my man.
Hey, man, you had me worried right there. I was like, man, I don't want anybody hearing this guy. Somebody might be out there get you to take my job or something, man. Bring in a young rookie, getting rid of the old vet.
No, I can't sing, man. I never could, but we always enjoy when you perform. The atmosphere at Ford Field is always great because whenever the Lions score, we know that great song is coming on. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Detroit Sports Podcast. Tell everyone where they can find you and on Twitter, Facebook, and things like that.
Oh man, you know what? I want to thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at Gridiron Go Lions and Facebook Theo Gridiron Spight.
And also, the show's coming back on. Are you guys done with vacation? You can be back on the air this Sunday?
We're trying to work some things out. There could be some even bigger news coming that I really can't talk about right now, but everybody just stay tuned to that. Go to the website for that is gridironandchef.com. You can also find that on Twitter at Gridiron and Chef. And just stay tuned. Hopefully we have some bigger and better news coming real soon.
Oh, man, that's great to hear. Thank you for coming on. You're welcome here anytime, and we'll talk again.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That was Theo Gridiron Spight giving us great information regarding the Lions. I think we agree to disagree regarding Ndamukong Suh. All right, guys, let's talk about something that makes me happy.
Sure.
Michigan State football. Yes, sir.
Something that makes me sad.
But we'll also talk about U of M.
All right. That makes me sad, too.
We'll get into some college football talk. Where do you want to go first? Do you want to hit a little bit about Michigan State or U of M?
Let's talk about the winning program in this state, the Spartans.
Michigan State is coming off one of the best seasons they've ever had. All of us have felt like we've lived a dream through the 2013 season. They won the Rose Bowl.
Just speak for Spartan Nation.
They won the Rose Bowl. We were within a couple referees' dumb decisions and terrible calls away from going undefeated. If the referees had just been fair, let us play a little bit. Let us play our defensive style last year versus Notre Dame. We could have potentially gone undefeated. You got to remember where Michigan State came from. Michigan State has not the greatest history in terms of college football. But right here where we stand, Michigan State now has elite national expectations. I'm just going to sit here and digest that for a minute. Michigan State has big-time expectations. Now, the question is this. with the significant losses on defense. Darquez Denard's gone. You lost Bulla. He's not on the team anymore. And so everyone's thinking, okay, what's going to happen to Pat Narduzzi's defense? Can they sustain those losses? So now Michigan State maybe has to rely a little bit more on the offensive side because they got significant talent in the key positions. Connor Cook and Jeremy Langford are going to be expected to carry the load on offense. I have full confidence that Pat Narduzzi, who was courted by several teams, got a big raise to stay at Michigan State, making $900K. I believe in his system. I believe he puts the pieces in place, and we got key freshmen coming in that are expected to perform. So now we got expectations, cuz. What are the expectations? Have we gotten to the level where we think that Michigan State can win the national title? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Pump the brakes. Even me, with my little Green Sparty heart, does not think that Michigan State can win the national title. I want to say that with all my heart. But the landscape right now, in terms of the top, Alabama, Auburn, unbelievable. That's going to be Florida State. That's going to be a huge mountain to climb. But if we can get into that top 4, we can prove ourselves. So that's the goal. Get into that top 4 and let the chips fall where they may. Toughest part, though, we go to Oregon on the road second week. Right now, where we're sitting, I'm not 100% confident we can go on the road at Oregon where they just play lights out football.
They play fast.
They play fast. So that game could get out of hand real quick. And that's going to be one of those elite games to watch.
You know what the best part about that, though, is?
What's that?
It's week number 2.
Week number 2.
You can lose early. You've seen it before. You can lose early.
We lost to Notre Dame, and we didn't come back from there. We didn't get in the national title picture.
You're right. You didn't. But you can lose early, and you can rebound. If you're going to lose, if there's any point where you can lose in college football, you can lose in the first 3 weeks, and you can rebound, and you can come back. Michigan State's got a lot of steam behind them after what they did in the Rose Bowl last year and after what they did in the Big Ten championship game last year. If Michigan State goes to Oregon, and I don't know why we're talking about a possible loss. That defense is crazy, and it's very, very good.
Yeah, defensive ends, Shalik Calhoun and Marcus Rush are going to cause matchup nightmares on that line. They're going to get pressure. They're going to let the defense restrict the opponent's offense in terms of the run and getting to the quarterback.
I'm going to tell you exactly what this is. There's no reason we should be talking about a Michigan State loss right now. There's no reason. You haven't even seen what they look like yet. You haven't seen them play one game yet. We're here already penciling them in for an L. No, you guys don't know how to win. You don't know how to take that win and then sit there and run around with your championship bravado. Beat your chest a little bit. Be confident. Talk about how you're going to go into Oregon. You're going to slow them down, and you're going to defeather these Ducks. Talk about it. Own it. Be it. You want to be a winner. You want to eat at the big boy table. It's all you ever talk about is eating at the big boy table, right? You want to sit there. You want to be with Ohio State. Michigan's been far removed from the big boy table. Let me tell you. All right? So you want to take their spot and you want to eat at the big boy table? Pull up a seat. Beat your chest. Tell me how you guys are going to go in there and you're going to dominate Oregon. Don't tell me how you might lose to them in week 2 and how you might be out of the national championship picture already in week 2. If you go to Oregon and you beat them, I think you stake a great claim for possibly being in the championship, the inaugural playoff championship. You have a great spot to be able to do that. And I'm a Michigan fan telling you that.
Oh, man, I love it.
Stop with your pity party. All of you Spartans, stop with your goddamn pity party. Beat your chest. Own it. You won the Big Ten last year. You look dominant. You beat a good Ohio State team, all right? All you do now is you just keep reloading. It's a pistol. You just keep reloading, and you just keep taking shots. You just keep shooting and firing, and you sit there and you go and you hold that banner. They have to pry that banner out of your dead hands that says the Big Ten on it.
You want to know what it is? It's that every time we start to puff our chest out, all you yellow haters out there kind of continue to say, oh, look at the Sparties over there. Look at them enjoying their success. Listen, I'm realistic. I'm the biggest fan. I was cheering the loudest. I was in shock that Michigan State won the Rose Bowl.
You guys are cute, green and white.
So, listen. It's tough to be on top. It really is. It's tough to think that, wow, Michigan State has come now, is basically playing the style of football that Michigan used to. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe that we play smash mouth football, we play great defense, and we got a great running back. Simple football, and that's what we're doing at Michigan State.
It's Big Ten football. That's all it is. You guys finally learned how to play it. Now you guys get to eat at the big boy table. And you know what?
Let's do this.
Hold on to your fork and knives.
Let's do it. MSU for the national title. Let's go. MSU is going to go, baby. If you want to do it, let's go. MSU should stake its claim this year.
I like how I just talked you into it.
Let's go. I want to say that Michigan State will go down and play every single game to the wire and understand that maybe that loss to Notre Dame was a bitter pill, and Michigan State is one of the 4 teams. Okay, let me ask you this. Is Michigan State one of the 4 teams in the inaugural NCAA playoffs?
I'm going to say no. I'm sorry I got you all riled up and I pumped you up. I'm going to say no.
Come on, man.
I'm going to say no, but this is why I say no. I don't know if any Big Ten team makes it to the Final Four, and that's just based on the competition in the Big Ten. That is based on all the antics that go on with the SEC. I guarantee you the SEC will have at least 2 teams playing in that playoff this season. All right? So I don't know if Michigan State or any Big Ten team rises to that level to where they can get into that championship game for the championship talk. I think you're going to see 2 teams out of the SEC. I think that you might see a Big 12 team or you might see a Pac-12 team. You know what? It'll probably be a Big 12 team and it'll be a Pac-12 team. That's what I'm going to go with. You know what I see? This is how I see it playing out. I see possibly a team like Oregon or USC coming out of the Pac-12, and I see a team like Oklahoma coming out of the Big 12.
You know what I see?
You see Ohio State, you see Michigan State, you see Alabama.
No. Here's what I see.
You see Auburn.
Here's what I see. I see the situation in which Michigan State gets screwed. There's going to be 2 undefeated teams. They're slotted in, and there's going to be 3 one-loss teams. Among them is going to be Michigan State. They're going to be 5th. They're going to be 5th, looking in to the 4th team because they're not considered a national powerhouse.
Let me ask you this: if they get to the Big Ten championship game and they win the Big Ten championship game again, back-to-back years, do you think they get an automatic bid in that they're in that championship talk? Do you think they then deserve it?
Yeah, I would think. Of course, I think they deserve it if they go back-to-back. Of course, but I really feel like now there's going to be a new controversy. It's not going to be the controversy versus 1 and 2. You're going to have those teams that are undefeated that are going to be there. That's not going to be the controversy. The controversy now is going to be who's going to be 4th and 5th.
Yeah, who's that 5th place team?
Who's that 5th place team?
Yes.
And you know what? My little Sparty heart has been broken before, so I'm going to say we are going to be in that talk. But then when they look to see if a team like Florida or if a team like LSU or a team like Auburn with 1 loss, they'll choose a team like that.
Here's the thing.
Then
They're
a team like Michigan
already
State.
setting it up. Just to they're already throwing out feelers out there to prevent that talk. And they're basing it upon strength of schedule. A large part of who gets decided to play in that championship game, it goes to strength of schedule. And we talked last week about the Big Ten and how the strength of schedule doesn't look good. It's going to be very difficult for a Big Ten team to come out of this conference and then make a claim to be in those top 4. So I don't know if it happens, and I think that what will happen is if they do get left out, if what you say is true and they do get left out and your little Sparty heart breaks again, what they'll sit there and they'll fall back on is they'll say the Big Ten conference wasn't strong enough as a whole, and Michigan State's schedule wasn't strong enough to carry the weight to push them into those upper 4 teams. That's exactly what will happen.
Okay. Now, switching gears a little bit, Michigan. The mighty fall of the University of Michigan. Because, Michigan continues to have the most wins of all time, 910.
Don't worry, they'll let you know about it.
11 national titles.
They'll let you know about those too.
Was a model of consistency under, Lloyd Carr. But they won the 1997 national title. Albeit controversial. Some people say Nebraska, other people say Michigan. What are you going to do? It's one of those debates that's going to go on for a long time. Because, do you realize Michigan has not been relevant nationally? That's what you guys hold yourselves to, the top echelon of college football. You have not been relevant since 2006. How the mighty have fallen.
I know.
Michigan was in 2006, if strolling down memory lane.
Ohio State, Michigan 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
Yep.
Since then, because in the subsequent 7 years, how many losses do you think Michigan got? How many losses would you think in the last 7 years?
A lot, because Rich Rod took over right after that. So let's see here. I'm pulling my hair out here. I'm good. You know what? How many? What's this? 2006. So we're talking 8 years.
7 years.
7 years. All right,
7
7
seasons.
years. You play 12 games. 35. I'm gonna say 48 losses.
Because that's dire, not that dire. In the last 7 that's kind of hilarious, 48 losses.
Oh, dude, I'm just throwing because under Rich Rod, there were some really bad seasons.
Back-to-back losing seasons, yes.
Brady Hoke hasn't been very good either.
No, 50 and 39.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
39?
39 losses.
That's a lot better than what I thought.
Yeah, it caused 39 losses.
It's not good.
That's
The worst part
unbelievable.
is most of those wins came against crap teams.
Yeah.
They're counting like Division II schools in there.
So now Michigan's rolling into another season. Devon Gardner appears to be the guy that's going to be in charge at quarterback in his senior year. In a year when Brady Hoke is considered to be on the hot seat, do you think a guy like Devon Gardner can lead this team, knowing the difficulties that he had all throughout last year in terms of passing the football? You don't think Michigan State's going to be salivating at the fact that Devon Gardner is going to be back there? They owned him last year.
I think everybody's salivating that Devon Gardner's back there. Everybody but Michigan fans. I don't know if he can lead this team. I really don't. I don't know if he is the quarterback who is fit to run this offense. I have no idea what this offense is even going to look like. I don't know if he's the guy that should be in charge of this team right now. From what I was reading and the way I understand it, Shane Morris has looked very good in their mini camp and in their practices, and Brady Hoke says that he has a legit shot to win the job. I don't know if he should be the quarterback because he looked questionable when he played last year. Granted, he was a freshman. I don't know if they have the pieces to be able to win in the Big Ten this year. I don't know what they have back there. I'm not sure. If Devon Gardner can learn how to throw a football down the field more than 15, 20 yards, I think we might be okay with him. You know, if Shane Morris understands the playbook and can go out there and not look like he's going to get crippled every time he gets hit, yeah, then we got a shot. But right now, I don't know if there's enough leadership even at the top. The way it sounds like Michigan might be splintering and might be fractioning again. You just got done with one of these situations with Rich Rod. You bring in Brady Hoke, he's supposed to smooth everything over. You bring Dave Brandon in. Dave Brandon's supposed to do this, do that. And from what I'm hearing, the Regents are upset with Brandon. Brandon wants to do this, wants to do that. It makes everything very gimmicky. They can't sell out games. Brady Hoke doesn't wear a headset and is chubby. I mean, I don't even think he does things on this football team. I really don't think he coaches anybody. I think he's just the rah-rah guy. I really do believe that. I feel like he's the figurehead, and he's just the guy on the sideline. And when everything is said and done, he's got to go take the heat for whatever his coordinators do. That's why he goes out there and he tries to hire some of the better coordinators that are out there because he has no idea what the hell's going on during these football games.
And because I can't imagine a season when the expectations are so low. I mean, the fans are disappointed. I mean, there was talk last year about the fans really being upset with the whole ticket situation in terms of not being able to sit like in the exact same way that you can in the past.
It's even worse now.
The ticket situation's all jacked up. People are not happy with Dave Brandon. They're trying to think of gimmicky ways to bring people back to the stadium. And there is rumors. It's kind of swirling out there. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's talk that maybe, just maybe, one of the home games might draw less than $100,000.
Yeah, I heard
might
that.
draw less than 100,000 people.
I heard that.
And that would be kind of a shame.
You know what? I hope that happens. I do. You realize what's on their schedule? They're playing teams like Appalachian State. Do you remember what happened last time you played these guys? I mean, it was the end of the Lloyd Carr era.
Lord,
so maybe Brady Hoke will go out the same way.
Lord help you guys if you lose one of those games.
Oh my gosh.
No,
it's bad. The schedule is bad.
Anything short of 9 wins, you should be gone.
The schedule is bad. They increased ticket prices. You know, the things that they've done to the students is unbelievable. Unbelievable. The gimmicky things that they want to do to try to draw fans and keep fans there, you know what? Just schedule better opponents. Put a winning product out there. You know, you don't have these problems when your product is winning and you're doing things well. People didn't have problems going to an Appalachian State game when you're sitting there putting up 10, 11, 12 wins a season. So just go out there and win. Put a winning product out there, and nobody will have a problem paying however much you want to raise the ticket prices to. Nobody will have a problem showing up for the really bad games that you have. Just put a good product out there.
And another point...
It's easy.
And
get rid of this coach who doesn't know what he's doing.
And another point that people talk to me about... Now listen, I know you know more about Michigan than I do, but I know the main talking points. And one of the other talking points that people say is that offensive line still looks undersized. Is that true? I mean, people are saying that, you know what, Michigan State has monsters on the defensive line. And you saw it last year. They were able to dominate when Michigan only ran for negative yards last year. And so people are still talking to me saying, listen, the guys just look small. Is that the case? Is that still
when you stack them up to what Michigan State brings on defense? Yeah, it doesn't look good. It just really and truly, what I feel is going to be a huge issue this year is you brought in a brand new coordinator who has totally different philosophies from the coordinator who was there before. So now you have to have these guys digest this playbook like you said, you have an offensive line who looks slightly undersized compared to guys on Michigan State's D-line who just devour humans and eat babies for breakfast. So you now have to learn a new playbook. You got to digest this. You don't have the right pieces. You don't have the right fit. You want to play smash mouth football, but you got a bunch of tweeners out there.
Eesh.
It doesn't work. It's not gonna work. That's why when we talked last week and you said, yeah, I see them winning 9 games. And you're right. 9 games should be the cutoff. They should win no less than 9 games this year. That's why I don't see them winning it, though. They don't have the right pieces. And this team seems like it's kind of a hodgepodge mix of leftover bits from Rich Rod and whatever Brady Hoke is doing. And I don't feel like Brady Hoke is a decent enough recruiter. Even though everybody gives him rave reviews for his class, I don't feel like he does a good job. I don't feel like he goes and he addresses what players actually fit his system. I think he goes and he's like, oh, well, Rivals rated this kid a 5. Let me go talk to him and show him my sweet curly hair. I really feel like it's kind of what happens. Whereas you got a guy like D'Antonio who goes in and is like, you know what? I know he's small. I know he's slightly undersized, but he'll fit perfect. Let's grab him. Let's load him up. I know he's a 2-star guy, but I see something in him that'll work with my scheme. Let's bring him in. You got really good coordinators like Narduzzi out there who sit there and all they do is they just like, next man up. All right, he's down. Let's plug him in. And you just keep it moving. You keep it rolling. I just don't see Michigan being able to do that. And that's hard for me to say, and it sucks for me to say, but I'm going to be real, and I'm going to tell you how it is.
Yeah, and everyone that's in the know, that's hardcore, realizes the big 3, Michigan State, Ohio State, Notre Dame. You got to take 2 of 3 to even consider this a successful season. You can't lose to these guys over and over again, go 8-3 or 9 or go 9-3 and really have respect to say, okay, yeah, bring in the top guys here. That's just the way it is. You have to start getting some signature wins back at Michigan and start with Notre Dame, Ohio State. It's not likely to happen. Michigan kind of got screwed on the end of the stick where they got to go to Michigan State 2 years in a row. But they have to make a statement and they have to win some of these signature games. Otherwise, you're looking at a whole new regime next year.
Let me pose this question to you. All right, if you are a 5-star recruit and you've got, because generally all these teams basically go and they look at the same exact players, and they want generally the same exact players. But you are a 5-star recruit, and you've got a team like Ohio State coming to you, and Uncle Urban's offering you whatever Uncle Urban's offering you. Michigan State comes to you, and they offer you a full-ride scholarship. Michigan comes to you, and Brady Hoke's like, I'm Brady Hoke, Michigan, blue, go. All right, and they offer you whatever they offer you. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to the school that shows me the most paper and the most poontang.
You always do this. It's going to be Ohio State or it's going to be Michigan State because they're the 2 predominant schools that win right now.
Yeah,
and they have the coaching staffs that will put you in the best spot to either A, help advance your career into the pros or help you win a championship in college football.
You got it. And that's the sad state of affairs right now at Michigan. But this is a year where you got to turn things around. And hopefully they can do that. Stay with us. After the break, we're going to get the opinion of the man known as the Michigan Sports Swami. He's going to talk to us about Michigan State. Stay tuned right after the break. Joining us on the Detroit Sports Podcast, it's always great to talk with a fellow Sparty, my man, the Motor City Sports Swami. What's going on tonight?
Not much. Here to talk Spartans and that other school, so.
Yeah, football is right around the corner. Adam and I are excited, and we always love to talk college football. So jumping right into things, Michigan State coming off an epic 1-loss season, winning the Big Ten outright, winning the Rose Bowl. What do you think their expectations are this season, and do you think they have a lot of pressure to maintain their status where they're at this point in time?
Well, I know there's a lot of pressure. They lost Denard, several other players, quite a bit off their offensive line. So there's some pressure to keep it up, but they're not nearly under as much pressure as Michigan is. Michigan is a program on the decline, plain and simple. The Spartans have been rising almost every year since D'Antonio took over. So it's been really, really, really good, and they're sounding like it sounds like they're going to have a good run. I don't think they have too much pressure.
Now, Michigan State is considered among the elite now in college football. Do you think they can handle being one of the nation's best? I mean, Mark D'Antonio's come out and said that he considered that Michigan State had a chance last year to win the national title. Now you've lost some key pieces on your defense, but you still have some significant offensive weapons. The concern is the offensive line is a little inexperienced and thin. Do you think that, because we got a big test going on the road to Oregon second week, do you think they can handle being considered one of the nation's best?
Absolutely. Hands down. One of the nation's best is Ohio State. They took out Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. That proved it right there in my eyes, that they could hold their own. I think everything that D'Antonio said was correct, too. They could have won it, the title. If you take a look back, last season, if there was a playoff, it would have been Florida State versus Michigan State and Alabama versus Auburn. Well, Alabama and Auburn would cancel each other out. That would have been a long, drawn-out game, worn them out. Florida State might have given some trouble, but I'm sure the defense time would have overcame it. And I think that defense is only going to get better. They lost some key pieces, but there's new players coming in. Other players have to look better. The offense has just gotten better also. Connor Cook looks better than he did last year. I don't think there'll be any problem holding it at the big schools as far as the Oregon game goes. I can't wait to watch it. I already told my boss taking the day off.
Let's jump over to the other school in this state, the school that I represent and that I like. As you said, they're on the decline. They've not
you and my wife.
They've not been playing very well. How much pressure is Dave Brandon and Brady Hoke under for this season? Is this a make or break season for these guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you look back, you take a look at their seasons, coaches get 3-4 seasons to prove that they can do something. I look at Rodriguez, 3-9, 5-7, 7-6. Bye. Gone. Hoke, first season was great. He's been dropping off since then, though. 8-5 and 7-6. The losing record in the Big Ten overall. If he doesn't prove that he can beat Big Ten schools this year, he'll be gone. They'll get rid of him. It's a lot of pressure on him. But honestly, I don't know if they can. They might be able to step up, but I don't know.
Do you think that that Brady Hoke's record is kind of an indication on his recruiting ability and in the way he is able to run his system? Like you said, his best season has been his first year when he took over all of Rich Rod's players. After that, it's been a steady decline. Is this more of an indictment on Brady Hoke and the way he recruits and the talent that he brings in?
Definitely. I don't think he's the type of coach that can recruit. I don't think he really knows how to recruit players, honestly. I really don't. I just see it dropping off continually until he either gets someone to recruit for him or he is fired. The record definitely says that the quality of players he's gotten have gotten lower and lower. Like maybe he thinks he sees something in a player, but it's not there really.
Is it safe to assume that if Brady Hoke doesn't have a winning season this year, that Dave Brandon is ousted as the athletic director of Michigan?
I don't know if they'll go that far. I don't know if they would oust him as athletic director. Someone else might be involved in the decision along with him to hire a new coach, but I don't think they'll fire him as athletic director. I don't.
Does Michigan win one of its big three rival games this year against Notre Dame, MSU, or Ohio State, or do they get a big fat 0?
That's a tough call. Ohio State's still a powerhouse. They're still a threat to everyone. Michigan State, we're fueled by the little brother comment, and we proved it last year. And as being a big brother in real life, I know that when your little brother beats you up that bad, you just back off. Notre Dame, they might pull that out. I'm not sure. Notre Dame's been looking pretty good the last few years.
Now you had said that in your house is split. You're a State guy. Your wife is a U of M fan. Does it get heated when you guys are watching the State U of M game, or like if Michigan State makes a big play, does she elbow you, or what goes on in the household during the biggest week in Michigan?
We don't speak. We talk about the kids with school and work, but leading up, no conversation. We have an unwritten rule in the house. I can't have State stuff everywhere. She does have Michigan stuff everywhere. But when the game comes on, that's it. I've got my Michigan State stuff on. She's got her Michigan stuff on, and it's just back and forth. Except this last year, I got a lot more ha's in.
So Michigan State's been winning a lot of games in recent years. So how long after that game does your wife kind of return back to normal in terms of wifely duties and her attitude and things like that? Because I know my house is only a State house, so I'm lucky. I don't have to wait. I don't get no restrictions during that week. It's all good.
No, everything's cool. My wife, she's mainly a U of M fan. Her mother went there. Her whole family's gone there. It's a family thing, but at the same time, she loves me, so it doesn't really affect anything else. It's just that subject we try to avoid. Or if it comes up, it's good-natured picking on back and forth. But we don't get too hardcore about it, which is kind of nice.
Okay, let's make a prediction. Do you think Michigan State makes it back to a BCS Bowl this year?
Oh, yes. I honestly think they'll make it to the playoff.
Top four, I like it.
I think that the preseason, let's see, who was that? One of the websites I was looking at for the preseason picks set them at like 12. And I'm like, no, they're not 12. I thought that was ridiculous. Oh, it's Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report ranked them at 12. I'm sorry, but they finished third at the end of last season. Teams don't drop like that. They lost some key players, but a lot of other players improved. That's an underestimation. They'll finish in the top four. Probably not number one, but in the top four, and they'll make it into the playoffs. National title, possibility. We'll have to see how everything's looking when it gets to that point. If they play like they did last year, where they were, at the end of the year, they were solid, they were unbelievably good, then yeah, they'll have a shot at even the national title.
Excellent. I'm right on with you. I think it's going to be a good season. I'm not sure it's going to be a BCS type season though, just because of the level of quality that dropped off on the defense. And like I said, we got a tough game. It's going to be no easy task to go up to Oregon and get a victory there, especially early in the season. But like I said, last year we were so close, and right now Michigan State has the mentality, we have the attitude. We got two great returning players, and we got two great returning players on offense, and we're bringing in some quality freshmen. Continuity is key. Pat Narduzzi is putting in a quality NFL-style defense, and he's been there for several years, turned down key jobs. I'm looking forward to this season, and at the same time, as long as we can keep our little brother U of M down, I'll be all happy.
They're hungry for that, and actually, I came up with something much better when I saw Connor Cook's comments about being called little brother. I came up with something better on it.
Is your wife there? Is your wife there?
She's out with the kids right now.
Oh, gotcha. Let her know that Doc from DocNJock says that it's going to be quite a bit of time before U of M sees a victory versus Michigan State, and that she should just come on over to Green because Michigan football is being played at Michigan State.
I've been telling her that she won't budge, but I'll pass the message.
Tell everyone where we can find your work, where they can follow you on Twitter, and where they can follow you on Facebook.
On Facebook, you can find me under Motor City Swami. You can also find me on Detroit Sports Nation and MotorCitySportsJournal.com.
We've been talking to the Motor City Sports Swami. Thanks for your time. We look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Thank you, guys.
That was the Michigan Sports Swami giving us his take on Michigan and Michigan State. And no, to be fair, next week we'll have someone with a more Michigan flair to give us their opinion. I always love to start off with people who are loyal to Michigan State to kick off the preview talk. So, but he did a great job. It was great talking to him. It would have been cool if his wife would have came on and I would have told her, listen, don't beat up your man there because you're the Michigan girl and you're lucky to be with a Michigan State guy.
You're lucky to wear green and whites.
All right, cuz that was another great podcast.
Yeah,
came and went just like that, man. It was another good show. Great talk. That's the thing. That's the best thing about this podcast is that we're able to bring you the best sports content out there. Minimal commercial breaks, dedicated to Detroit sports. We love the fans out there. We thank you for your contribution. All of you that have been contributing $1 a month. That helps us stay on the internet. We greatly appreciate it. And we want to thank our contributors at the Detroit Sports Nation. All those guys are great, and we love bringing you great Detroit sports content from the guys at the Detroit Sports Nation. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John McEnroe. Thank you so much for downloading this podcast every Thursday at iTunes. We greatly appreciate it.
Go Tigers, get something at the trade deadline.
That's playoffs, baby, all day, every day.
I'm going to the school that shows me the most paper and the most poontang.
All day, every day. This is about that paper. It's all about the Benjamins.